I'd never seen anything like it. All the people I knew that were Christians went to church, did their thing on Sunday, and tried to be good people, but I knew what they did behind closed doors. This was the first person I ever met who had an encounter with Jesus and was changed, transformed, and wanted to share it with everybody. So this dude starts transforming the shop, and I start seeing my shop in a whole different light. At the same time, I'm becoming more and more dissatisfied with what I'm doing and what I have. And it gets to a point where January 2008, I'm utterly distraught. And it was so bad one night that my wife asked me, she says, what's wrong with you? I said, I'm depressed. I'm empty. I feel like I got 1,000 puzzle pieces in my head and they don't fit together. There's darkness all around me. My head's in a fog. Literally, this clouds follow me around. And I'm even questioning my faith in God. Now, my faith in God up to that point was that someone you appease once in a while, and you try to do more good than you do bad. That was my vision of God. But I was even questioning how, if he was good, how could I be feeling this? Right? So my wife doesn't know what to say to that. So she goes off, she's a teacher, and she goes to work, and it's, I'm home with our little one, my son Gavin. He was about 6 or 7 months old at the time. And so I'm sitting there in our living room that morning, and Gavin's his bouncer, right? He's just this beloved bouncer. I would left him in there all day if I could have. But he's bouncing, and I'm on the TV just zoned out. Trying to deal with my emotions, trying to escape, just trying to get away from reality. And all of a sudden, Gavin lets this diaper that defies logic. I won't go into details, but use your imagination. I'm like, oh my gosh, kid, what are you doing right there? The changing room's upstairs. I can't get him up there. It would just be a nightmare. So I grab a towel, I lay it down in front of the TV, and I get to work. And all of a sudden, I become convicted of what's on the TV and going into his ears. Never cared before. Not trying to sound like a horrible dad. I didn't care. I didn't know better. And so I'm like trying to do this, and I'm like, I grab the remote and start click, 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 and I just look up and I stop and I just put down. I'm like, it's a Christian program. Could be worse. Okay. So I just go back and I go back to my business. Well, as I'm doing it, the guy on the TV says, okay, before we close, we're going to pray for those of you in our television audience. And he stops and he pauses and he looks straight at me. I know that sounds weird, but the dude was looking at me. And he says, oh, I got someone out there right now who's hurting. Now let me just preface this really quick. The night that I had shared that with my wife, I shared it with one other person, what I was going through. My new Christian born-again on fire friend, TJ Tamaya. We were closing the shop, and he said to me, Corey, what's wrong? And so I repeated what I told my wife. I said, TJ, my head's in a cloud. I got darkness all around me. I got 1 million puzzle pieces. They don't fit together. I'm even questioning my faith in God. And TJ looks right at me with these fiery eyes and goes, I'm going to pray for you, bro. And I'm like, that's sweet, kid, thanks. So now, go back to the diaper. The dude's looking at me through the TV, right? And he's like, oh, I got somebody out there. He's hurt. It's a young man in his 20s. He says he's surrounded by darkness and his head's in a cloud. He's got 1 million puzzle pieces that don't fit together, and he says he's even doubting if God's real. I am flipping out. And then he looks over at the person sitting next to him, and that person says, that's not all. He's scared that his depression's coming back. Now that was my secret. I didn't tell TJ, I didn't tell nobody that. That went years back where I had been clinically diagnosed as depressed, given medication, and had gone through a stint. That was one of the roughest periods of my life. And I was terrified that's what was coming back. I'm like, what is happening here? Son, I'm going to tell you what's happening here. Right now, Jesus wants you. He's speaking to you. And all you got to do is say, I receive you, Lord. Say yes to Jesus, I receive you. It's so simple. But I'm just in utter shock because the TV's talking to me. And I'm sitting there on my knees, and I find my mouth opening and doing something that it hadn't done since I was 16 years old. And that was calling on the name of Jesus. My mouth opened and said, I receive you, Jesus, I need you. And I meant it. From the time of the accident till that point right there, 17 years have gone by. But at 33 years old, I'm on my knees with my infant son in front of me, talking to the TV and saying yes to Jesus. And in that moment, I got hit with this electricity and love all fused together. And my body's tingling, and I start just wailing. I'm overwhelmed with tears. I'm crying, weeping. And as I'm sobbing through my tears, I look up, and I have this open vision. I seriously don't say this lightly, but this vision just appears before me. And there's these hands, and they're putting these puzzle pieces together. And the darkness goes away, the cloud goes away, and I'm just like overwhelmed by what I'm seeing. And the guy on the TV apparently isn't overwhelmed because he says, now son, what's happening is those puzzle pieces are all coming together and that darkness is vanishing. I don't even know what's real at this point. And that's when I heard his voice for the second time. And he said to me, Corey, I'm not saying there aren't things that you've discovered that there isn't truth to. My fear was that Satan had way more control and power than I wanted him to have. I'm not saying there aren't things that you've discovered that there isn't truth to, but I need you to understand something. And all of a sudden, these giant hands that have been putting the puzzle pieces together go like this. And in the middle of my living room, in these giant hands, is the whole world. And he says, I've got this. There's so much strength and assertiveness and compassion in those words. I knew he wasn't sugarcoating anything. I knew he was telling me the absolute truth. He has us. He's got everything. And so I stood up, and I'm just wiping tears away and not knowing what to do with this. And the other miracle in this is that Gavin's diaper got changed, and I have no idea how.